ESPN sets a fast pace in May. There's live coverage of the Indy 500 time trials and the pre-Kentucky Derby races from Churchill Downs, plus 2 Formula One Grand Prix and plenty of NASCAR thrills. May delivers the NHL shootout for the Stanley Cup Championship and live Grand Slam suspense from the French Open. May means home run heroes at the College World Series and pressure putts at the PGA Tour Memorial Tournament. It's the hottest May ever on ESPN.
This is ESPN, the Total Sports Network.
I think you'll see a good time today. It's a cool day. It's good for the runners.
Fog and drizzle early, expected to burn off just a little bit. The temperature expected to reach about 70 degrees, a slight breeze from the northeast. That's what's expected. Down at the finish line, well, a face familiar to a lot of ESPN fans, veteran play-by-play announcer Bob Varsha, a man who has actually competed in this marathon 4 times, and just 10 years ago, well, Robert finished up 13. Let's go down to the finish line, Bob.
Thanks a lot, Jim, and a hard-earned 13th place it was. But my finish line was a part of the old Boston Marathon, about a block away up Boylston Street in front of the Prudential Center. This is very much the new Boston Marathon, and joining me to analyze it for you is a man who grew up along the Boston Marathon course and has covered more than 12 of them for television, ESPN running analyst Larry Rawson. And Larry, Boston is a race that was said to be in decline just a few years ago, but now they're saying this may be the best men's field since the '84 Olympics in Los Angeles.
Bob, it has undergone a major resurrection in just 2 years, and we have a tremendous field at the starting line.
All right, Alan, it's the best field ever, better than even an Olympic field. There's not the pressure. You're not sequestered away in an Olympic village. It's the bragging rights for Boston. The 91st running of the Boston Marathon is being brought to you by John Hancock, sponsor of the 1987 Boston Marathon. By Bud Light, the light beer with the first name in taste. Everything else is just a light. And by Mercedes-Benz, automotive sponsor of the Boston Marathon.
You know, apart from the fact that we love each other and we know we can live together, it makes sense from a financial point also.
Is that how you see it?
No, it's just that along with everything else, there's that as well.
I don't know. You make it sound like a merger or something.
All I meant is that we wouldn't need 2 cars, 2 apartments, 2 of everything. That's all I meant. Let's just forget that. The important thing is that we love each other and
Spuds MacKenzie, what party-loving, happening dude. Go, Spuds, go, Spuds, go.
Bye, Spuds. Call me.
Go, Spuds, go.
I drove that car last weekend.
the big Mercedes?
The S-Class. What'd you think?
I think you have to sit in that big leather
driver's seat. Put Mozart, maybe Beethoven on the stereo. Then go out and drive in tight rush hour traffic, up some back mountain road, all night in a rainstorm. And then you'll know what I think. Which is, I think just maybe I drove the perfect car. Or as close to it as anybody's ever come.
This is ESPN, the Total Sports Network.
Running plans because of the weatherman. Today we've got raw and rainy conditions, but we could well be on world record time when this 91st running of the Boston Marathon gets underway. It starts, of course, as we have pointed out, some 26 miles away and weaves through some quiet New England towns like Natick and Framingham and Wellesley. How does that course go? Well, let's check in with the 1982 Boston Marathon champion, Alberto Salazar.
This is where it all begins, in Hopkinton, just 50 yards from the First Congregational Church at the new starting line. The Boston Marathon course is 26 miles, 385 yards. It's a point-to-point course, which can be an advantage. Usually the wind here in Boston is at your back, but one never knows what Mother Nature has in store for the runners on the day of the race. In 1982, when I won, we had the wind in our face the whole way. The other thing that's important about the Boston course is that there's a net loss in elevation. Here at the starting line, we're 470 feet above sea level. At the finish line, we'll only be 12 feet above sea level. Once we cross this line, we'll never be this high in elevation again. The first 5 miles take the runners out of Hopkinton, through the Ashland countryside and into Framingham. When you arrive at the 10-mile point in Natick, the elevation has already dropped over 300 feet. Passing through Natick Square and then into Wellesley, the runners are greeted by an enthusiastic crowd at Wellesley College. They're not far from the halfway point of the course at 13.1 miles. Then it's through Newton Falls, the final downhill before turning onto Commonwealth Avenue and facing the grind of Heartbreak Hill, which begins at the 17.5-mile point. Then it's downhill to Cleveland Circle, where the course turns onto Beacon Street in the final 3 miles of the race, taking the runners through Coolidge Corner into Kenmore Square. From there, it's 1.2 miles down through the heart of Boston to the finish line, in front of the John Hancock Building, a finish line 2 years young, a finish line of what may be the most competitive marathon ever on U.S. soil. Really cooled down quickly.
You can see, George, the tension is no different on the faces of the wheelchair competitors than on the runners who will begin after.
Now, these are great athletes now, and we're going to see some people getting in here in nicely under 2 hours, and that is flying at 15 miles an hour.
Bob and Larry are standing by for the start of the wheelchair competition.
Thank you, Jim. You see the wheelchair runners lined up, and they are off. And this is very much a race worthy of the attention of the press, Larry. These are tremendous athletes, and the time should be spectacular under these conditions.
Bob, Andre Vizier's time and winning and setting a new world best on this course last year, he averaged under 4 minutes per mile for 26 miles in a wheelchair. There you see going down, they will not like this wet surface. If it's drizzly out, it will slow the times because the athletes will not be able to get a good firm grip as they turn their wheels. They use the phrase in wheelchair racing, running. There's 53 men competitors that would do this Tour de Marche today and 6 women. Among the favorites, Jim Knopp, 31 years of age from Long Beach, California, a man who's a part-time actor. And you've maybe seen him in series on Love Boat and Happy Days out in California.
Checking on the medical results of any of the injured and be back with the start of the Boston Marathon in just a moment.
Don't wait for your secretary to drop you a subtle hint that it's Secretary's Week.
Oh!
She'll be thrilled you remembered her with a gift from your FTD florist, like this beautiful letterbox bouquet. Just call your FTD florist.
Hey, how you doing? Good. In fact, I feel like light. Hey! What the? Oh, no. Well, I meant Bud Light.
If you want the less filling light beer with the first name and taste, ask for Bud Light, because everything else...
You all right? Sure, just a little lightheaded.
It's just a light.
A lot of people who don't think they need a hearing aid may already have one.
Up 2 streets, take a right.
He said up 2 streets and take a right.
They bring their hearing aid with them everywhere.
What did he say?
He said he doesn't want to leave her, but he has to.
Now there's a hearing aid for people reluctant to wear one. It's called Miracle Ear. If you can hear people talk but can't understand all the words, if you have nerve deafness, Miracle Ear could help. And Miracle Ear is tiny, practically unnoticeable. Call 1-800-233-9800 for a free booklet about better hearing, what steps to take next, and how to get a free hearing test.
Thousand Island or vinaigrette?
She said Italian, Thousand Island, or vinaigrette.
Call Miracle Ear, 1-800-233-9800. The phone call, information, and hearing test are free. Call now. When you're losing your hearing, the worst thing to do is nothing.
What did he say?
Lacrosse is a Native American game, and in central New York, where the Indian tradition is rich, the game is so strong it's knocked the wind out of some high school baseball programs. Lacrosse, this Saturday on ESPN Scholastic Sports America.
ESPN comes out swinging.
Play ball!
With live Monday night college baseball. Powerhouse sluggers from Texas, Miami, defending national champion Arizona, and other schools provide hard-hitting excitement. ESPN gives you a box seat view with award-winning coverage. It all leads to ESPN's exclusive live presentation of the College World Series. Live Monday night college baseball, only on ESPN.
Welcome back live to the 91st running of the Boston Marathon. The wheelchair competition tragically began with a 10-chair pileup starting some 26 miles away. And to our best information right now, they are still working medically on just one of the competitors. Everyone else has rejoined the field. We have Alan Massengale down at the start, and we are double-checking, and we'll, of course, get the names of any injured and pass them along just as quickly as possible. Now, Dr. Paul Thompson, the lower limbs of the athletes in the wheelchair, the bones so fragile.
Yeah, that's true. They don't have any muscle tissue down there, or very much muscle tissue down there to help pad any shock. The other thing is that if you don't use your bones, they atrophy a little bit, along with the muscular atrophy. And so that those bones in their lower limbs are brittle. So they're quite vulnerable to an injury like this.
Psychologically, George, what do you think that might do, the pileup, to some of the other athletes? Will they slow down a bit, or do those competitive juices just keep going?
The word I've got, Jim, and I hope this is correct, is that the elite athletes got out of there, and they were not part of the collision that led to several chairs piling up. So the word that we've got is the top contenders, Vigier and the others, are actually out of there, and they got out fine.
And, of course, we are still waiting for the start of the 91st running of the Boston Marathon, a truly elite international field. That race may be delayed just a little bit. For a look at the field, here is Larry Rawson.
The most consistent marathoner in the world in the last 5 years is Rob Di Castella, shown here winning the 1986 Boston Marathon with a time that became the second fastest in the world that year. Toshihiko Seiko. His loss in 1984 at the Olympic Games was only his first defeat since 1979 at this distance. Here shown winning the Chicago Marathon. Seiko's loss at the Olympic Games, many feel, was the result of his heavy training schedule. He might have even been overprepared. John Tracy at the 1987 Boston Marathon will be running only his second time ever at that distance.
Have been officially recognized by the Boston Athletic Association, the wheelchair athletes, since 1984, when awards were presented to all division winners. There is the start, and there is the pileup on a very, very slick road. And again, George, as you pointed out, they are motoring at about 40 miles per hour downhill. Now, Alan Massengale is standing by 26 miles away, so for an update on that collision, let's rejoin Alan.
Reports are beginning to trickle back up the course as to what happened in that accident. The lead wheelchair did flip. One driver was reported to be hurt. One racer was hurt. 6 to 7 went down, and they've managed to continue. But we have seen 2 wheelchairs making their way back up the course. Apparently too much damage sustained to their carriages. Let's go now to Jim Kelly for more reports from the finish line.
All right, Alan, thank you very much. We're still waiting, of course, for the beginning of the 91st running of the Boston Marathon. It has to be toned down just a bit.
It was the ultimate test of endurance, equivalent to more than a lap around the world in 8.5 days. This Mercedes-Benz traveled 31,000 miles, averaging over 154 miles per hour, stopping only seconds at a time for fuel and fresh drivers. Indeed, only seconds were needed, because during the entire trip, not a single mechanical failure occurred. High performance is exciting. High performance and reliability is Mercedes-Benz.
In these days of microcomponent technology, you can find office copiers that do almost anything. Some duplex, sort, automatically reduce and enlarge.
Can I use your copier?
It's down again. Try 23.
Thanks.
Some collate and margin shift.
Is your copier working? Sorry. Terrific.
But at Rico, we found that the most popular feature our copiers deliver is that our copiers deliver. Rico, copiers built to work and work and work.
Starting your own business is a risky proposition. This year, for instance, about 250,000 new businesses will open their doors, and 60,000 will close them. While the odds may seem intimidating, the Wall Street Journal can help shift them in your favor. Each day's journal is filled with the sort of late-breaking news and useful business ideas that the Davids of this world need to compete against all the other Davids. There's even a weekly small business column that can help you make success more than just a matter of luck. So, before you start a business, start a subscription to the Journal. It could open some new doors for you. And more important, help keep them open.
Call 800-554-9000 for this special introductory offer. 13 weeks for just $29.75 with a money-back guarantee. 13 weeks, $29.75. Phone 800-554-9000 now for the Wall Street Journal.
The competition is intense. 2 international volleyball powers show their strength when the USA battles Brazil in the Kentucky Fried Chicken Colonel's Classic, Tuesday night on ESPN.
We're back at the Boston Marathon, where we're going to take another look at the start of the 91st Boston, and you'll see highlighted Rob DiCastella, the defending champ. Now, that is not him there, but there, DiCastella, tripping over a rope, is hit by another runner. There were volunteers, the yellow-jacketed volunteers, still in the street at the start. Larry Rosslin, I think the entire start was taken by surprise.
Exactly. It was a premature start, it strikes me, because there was a policeman in an orange jacket and 2 other volunteer athletes probably holding up the rope that keeps everybody in the start that had not been notified. They just failed to coordinate the start correctly, and that's what caused the problem.
As a former race director of a big event down in Atlanta, Georgia, with 25,000 people in it, the Peachtree Road Race, I can tell you how important it is to get that first row of athletes away clearly.
The fog is starting to burn away, and perhaps the Air Corps, the helicopters, will be airborne soon and provide us with some more pictures of this, the 91st Boston Marathon.
Look fast, because the hands on this watch are about to disappear. Now, look again, and they're back. Why do these hands disappear? Because they're not really hands at all. They're actually electronic pulses of light. Introducing the amazing laser beam wristwatch. Destined to become a legend in its own time, we believe it will soon be one of the most sought-after watches in history. However, as part of a special publicity campaign, we will send you one of these amazing new laser beam luxury watches. Not for the hundreds of dollars you might expect, but for only $10. But to get your amazing laser beam wristwatch for only $10, you must act now. If you call within the next 30 minutes, you can order a second laser beam watch for only $5, just half price.
To order, call 1-800-352-5300. That's 1-800-352-5300.
A century ago, the founders of Mercedes-Benz created what others had only dreamed of, the world's first automobiles. Over the years, their mastery of technology and intolerance for mediocrity inspired a dynasty of automotive legends. Engineering, craftsmanship, the stubborn refusal to cut corners. By every measure, the standards of Mercedes-Benz became the aspirations of automobile manufacturers the world over. Today, as Mercedes-Benz enters its second century, the technology has changed, but the passion for perfection remains. Creating Mercedes-Benz for 1987. Legends for the second century.
Of the 1987 Boston Marathon. Bob Marsh and Larry Rawson with you as you watch Route 135 just outside of Ashland. And you await the arrival of the first of the some 10,000 runners estimated to have started this morning's race.
Gray finished first in the Portland Marathon in 2 hours, 16 minutes. But again, he's sailing along at what is an easy pace. This is going to be a fascinating second half marathon as they try and tear through the Newton Hills. I think you'll see a lot of surging, a lot of testing going on because these athletes are not experiencing any kind of oxygen debt. And I can't emphasize how easy this pace is as we look at approximately 15 runners in the lead group. There's Dean Costello in the middle wearing number 1. Eddie Eyestone off to his right. And the Jeff Smith in the black shorts and the white singlet top. They're all up there, aren't they, Bob?
Very much a tactical battle at this point, but Ikonga is leading the way. He is a front runner.
Number 5 there, John Tracy, as you see him begin to disappear into the fog. By the way, 1979's New York Marathon experienced the same problems. It's endemic to marathoning when the ceiling drops to 400 feet.
Number 6, Kita of Japan, is off to his right. Number 17 is Richard Umberg of Switzerland, the only marathoner in this group to have recorded a fairly quick international race earlier this year. In February, he ran 2 hours and 16 minutes. Well, the action is starting to get thick here at Boston. We'll have more ESPN coverage of the 91st Boston Marathon coming up. Charlie Gray is your leader.
Do something. Anything.
Inviting you to help us celebrate National Cable Month.
I'm Gail Gardner. Cable gives all of us more freedom in choosing what we want to see on television.
I'm John Saunders, happy to be part of the wide variety of excellent programming available to you only on cable.
Now is the time to try all the options that only cable offers.
Comedy, drama, movies, music, news, and of course, round-the-clock sports.
The choice is yours on cable TV. "35 minutes and 30 seconds unofficially into the Boston Marathon, and you're watching as the tail end of the men's field makes its way through Framingham, 6.7 miles. Kind of an odd milepost if you're used to seeing the more round 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 mile marks, but that's the way things are done in the Boston Marathon.
Interesting story. Back in 1897, when they wanted to run the marathon, the roads in those days were really just dirt. So they figured out an easy way for the officials to do it, since there weren't many automobiles. They took the train and they headed west. And they went out to the town of Ashland, and 24.7 miles later, they finished in downtown Boston. There you see one of the female runners. We can get her number there.
It looks like Van Landingham, the Belgian Ria Van Landingham, you see making her way along with a convoy of men around her. That chair. I think he probably had a problem with that wheelchair being smack in the middle of the road.
No, I honestly think he knows that guy. I've seen him push the wheelchair before in this. I'm just guessing on that, but I think he probably passed words of encouragement to that person. And Rogers said he would be running a conservative race. He snuck up on everybody last year, ran 2 hours, 13 minutes, 36 seconds at the age of 38, and nailed down 4th place in this race. I will add this. I think you're exactly right about Rogers. You know, he's past his prime of a great speed runner. But certainly for Tracy, it gives him a shot, I think, maybe even a better shot that the pace was slow in the beginning to get 1st, 2nd, or 3rd in this race. I pick him for 2nd.
Well, somebody asked Bill Rogers to assess his chances of matching his fine 4th place finish last year, and the 39-year-old said, well, if I did, you'd know I was either blood doped or on steroids, and I don't do either. The Boston Marathon, just about past the 9-minute mark. We'll all be back in a moment.
Don't wait for your secretary to drop you a subtle hint that it's Secretary's Week. She'll be thrilled you remembered her with a gift from your FTD florist, like this beautiful letterbox bouquet. Just call your FTD florist.
It's time for Lifestyles of the Original Party Animal with the Grand Poobah of Partyometry, Bud Light own Spuds MacKenzie, as he's planning tonight's big bash. His fans watch as he tans his way to party elegant. A facial and massage, and Spuds MacKenzie is ready to party. And Spuds parties with only Bud Light. He knows everything else is just a light.
How far do your kids have to go when they need information in a hurry?
I better get to the library before it closes.
If he only had the new Encyclopedia Britannica at home, he wouldn't have to go through all this. He could be learning right now about science, art, medicine. A 2-volume index makes subjects easy to find, and thousands of illustrations bring them to life. The new Encyclopedia Britannica. It's your key to the information age. But they can't use it if they can't get to it. Call this toll-free number for a free booklet on Britannica. Plus, receive your first copy of Britannica World Data Annual. It's free from Britannica Home Library Service when you acquire Britannica. Preview Britannica and receive free this 3-volume desk reference set.
Call 1-800-554-9000 for your free booklet and details on how you can receive your desk reference set. Encyclopedia Britannica, the library that never closes.
Golf's greatest legends are on ESPN. Each week, meet the players who made the game what it is today. Liberty Mutual's legendary World of Golf. Sundays at 12:30 Eastern, only on ESPN. The sports stars of tomorrow are doing their best today in America's high schools. Every Saturday, ESPN Scholastic Sports America looks at the record setters, the scholar athletes, the outstanding teams, players, and coaches. It's the one and only weekly program featuring high school athletes from all across the country doing their best. Join Chris Fowler every Saturday at 6:30 Eastern for Scholastic Sports America on ESPN.
This is ESPN, the Total Sports Network.
And welcome back on this raw and rainy New England day for the 91st running of the Boston Marathon. The applause picking up all along the race course. They're standing 8 and 10 deep for most of this 26-mile course, and that is the history and the tradition. The crowds at one point, when they come around Coolidge Corner, actually get so close, you see them, you can reach out and actually touch the competitors. And so many people compete, over 6,700, because of the tradition and the history here in Boston.
Before we do that, let me add two important points. This is Bob. The Rita Van Landingham was running very close in second place to Rosa Mota, so there's a tremendous battle building there as we watch the men making their way through Wellesley, where the girls of Wellesley College will cheer them on. That 5:29 pace for Rosa Mota is right on her personal best, so she is going as fast as she has ever gone before.
Jean-Francois Poitien from France leads the wheelchair. We've already talked about the women. Let me tell you, folks, if you're watching at home, the race has begun. Just watching the leg turnover, things have finally picked up. They have passed the half marathon time. It's still a cast of thousands in the lead group, but that human convoy at the front is going to start getting dismembered very soon.
And Larry, they're not running 2 or 3 abreast anymore. You saw that they had stretched wide. Somebody is about to make a break, and nobody wants to be left behind.
Right you are. 13.4 miles they were approaching that you saw the time. There's the 12-mile time. Forget who's being shown in the lead group. There's still about 14 or 12 other people other than those on the screen up there at the half point. This is going to be a barn burner of a second half marathon. They'll reach the low point of the race at about 90 feet above sea level, coming down from 490 feet of elevation at 16 miles. Then they start the 4 serious hills of New last mile. There you go. There's a great shot of it. You dip straight down. Look at that V shape at 16 miles. Right down. The runners will fall down the hill. They're climbing that crest between 14 and 15 miles of lead group now, and then they will literally dive off a cliff as though they're at Acapulco for mile 15 to 16, and look at the V shape they start to climb. People talk about the 3 Newton hills. I've tried to talk in our telecast about the 4 Newton hills because that's exactly what you got. Count the V's as you climb from 100 feet of elevation up to 265 feet. I want to tell you, you're a tired puppy. And in 1979, it was the final of the 4 hills that broke. Bill Rogers broke them on the middle of Heartbreak Hill and went on to victory in 79 to then a new American record in this race.
Well, we're about to throw away the stopwatch. All the key players are still in the battle. We're about to hit the hills. 1 hour, 5 minutes, and 49. The last checkpoint. Be right back.
That'll do it. Who wants grapefruit juice?
I'll pass.
Good for you.
I know, but...
Lots of vitamin C?
Yeah, but
the taste? Here, try this. Ocean Spray Pink Grapefruit Juice Cocktail. It's tangy, smoother, sweeter.
This is grapefruit juice?
It's Ocean Spray Cocktail.
It's bitter.
And it's not just good for you, it's good. Ocean Spray good.
This message is for all those who enjoy curling up in a comfortable chair and outperforming the Dow Jones Industrial. One publication has the financial analysis, insights, and other resources to make your favorite pastime highly rewarding. It's called Barron's.
Subscribe to Barron's now and get 26 weeks for only $43 with a money-back guarantee. Call 800-554-9000. That's 800-554-9000.
From tea to green, television's best golf coverage is on ESPN. The greatest tournaments, including Grand Slam events, the U.S. Open, British Open, and the PGA Championship. Outstanding PGA Tour, LPGA, and Senior PGA Tour golfers, featuring Jack Nicklaus, Pat Bradley, and Arnold Palmer. ESPN's live coverage from the world's most spectacular courses brings you closer than ever to the players and the action. The very best is par for the course on ESPN.
The 91st running of the Boston Marathon is being brought to you by Nike. And and by Ricoh Corporation, proud sponsors of the Boston Marathon.
1:05:49, the halfway time that compares to Roberto Di Castella's 1986 split of 1 hour, 3 minutes, and 6 seconds. Larry Rawson.
Here's the leaders. Everybody's up there, Bob. We haven't lost anybody. Forget the top 5, but at least just nice to know where they are. All their friends and relatives can see that they're still in the top 5. But the rest of the guys are there. Toshihiko Seiko. That man will not take the lead until he starts to push. He'll sit back and study everybody else in the lead pack. He won't share the lead. That's his inscrutable way.
Do something. Anything.
Hi there. You looking for Mr. Wright?
Give this guy a light.
Wow.
And Bud Light here.
Who asked for Bud Light? The light beer with the first name and taste. Because everything else is just a light.
Thanks. Keep the change.
The test of a great airline is not just how fast it moves you in the air, but how fast it moves you on the ground. That's why at some of the busiest airports in the world, United Airlines offers you the most advanced baggage systems, faster ticketing and boarding procedures, and the most spacious, convenient, efficient terminals in the business. United Airlines. From the ground up, rededicated to giving you the service you deserve. Come fly the friendly skies.
Tuesday, America's best hopes for Olympic gold lead the world's best divers in breathtaking platform competition. The McDonald's American Cup. Tuesday night at 8 Eastern on ESPN.
This is ESPN, the Total Sports Network.
Watch the runners making their way along the 87 Boston Marathon Trail.
Let me add this. The women's race, we have an update here at 14 miles. Rosamoto leading through the halfway point. She is averaging just under 5 minutes and 30 seconds per mile, and she's right on 2 hours, 25 minutes. Her time through 14 miles, 1 hour, 17 minutes, right on the nose.
Muscle cramps, any relation, any correlation between glycogen?
Yeah, there sure is. When the muscle runs out of energy, it can't relax, and that's why you get a cramp. When you get a cramp, you're out of energy.
Dr. Paul Thompson and Nancy Clark alongside, and of course it's the 91st running of the Boston Marathon. The men and the ladies are about halfway home. It's going to be a dramatic finish. Don't go away. We'll return after this.
I'm going fine. You gotta be making at least 25. I'm fine. Maybe a little better than that. 30? Tell me yes or no. Are you making 30? Around 30. Got any investments? Any stuff? Not really. You're making 30, and you don't have anything like that. What do you think? You're 18 years old or something?
I drove that car last weekend. The big Mercedes? The S-Class. What'd you think? I think you had to sit in that big leather seat, put Mozart, maybe Beethoven on the stereo, then go out and drive in tight rush hour traffic, up some back mountain road, all night in a rainstorm, and then you'll know what I think. Which is? I think just maybe I drove the perfect car, or as close to it as anybody's ever come.
Budweiser. Good times never lasted longer.
Now you can get your morning news and information before you leave the house. Nation's Business Today. Back to basics information with a business person in mind. Breaking news from Washington, Wall Street, and the world. Updates on trade, technology, and Capitol Hill. Investment tips, sports scores, and weather reports for the traveler. Join Merrill Comer and Carl Grant and get a head start every business day. Watch Nation's Business Today. TV news for people who mean business. Weekday mornings at 6:30 here on ESPN.
Tonight, the Stanley Cup playoffs are live on ESPN. The toughest teams in hockey face off in the divisional finals. Live tonight at 7:30 Eastern on ESPN. Tonight, ESPN recaps today's 91st running of the Boston Marathon. Find out what it's like to conquer one of the greatest challenges in sports. Tonight at 11 Eastern, only on ESPN.
This is ESPN, the Total Sports Network.
The pace is picking up. The drama and the excitement are building. The defending champion from Australia, Rob DiCostella, is falling back into the pack. But the young man from 27 years of age out of Tanzania, Juma Ikonga, is now the leader after 17 miles. There's the time, 1:26:17.
Jim, we've got Steve Jones, who's just moving up ahead of Ikonga. We've gotten a report on it, and they're racing now. Finally, the pace is coming down. They just threw in a 4-minute and 50-second mile between number 16 and 17, and that lowers the pace because up until now they've been dawdling.
In Boston, it is called Brayburn because there's a country club right there.
Well, don't forget, coming up on Tuesday, April 28th, starting at 8 o'clock in the morning, 5 o'clock on the West Coast, live from New York, from Bristol, from Philadelphia, the 8th consecutive year, the NFL Draft on ESPN. Our Bob Lee, Chris Berman, of course, will be supported by our draft specialist, Mel Kiper, Sports Illustrated's Paul Zimmerman, NBC's Paul McGuire, along with ESPN college football analyst and curmudgeon Bino Cook. It's all coming up on Tuesday, April the 28th, the National Football League College Player Draft.
Now available at Video Exchange.
Guy bangs into my car.
Richard Dreyfuss.
You are nuts.
Danny DeVito.
Tries to get even with me by stealing my wife.
Tin Men.
You two fall in love.
This was that guy?
Hailed by critics.
Nora, this is Steve.
Hilarious in the LA and New York Times.
I love your wife and I want to marry her.
A comedy you simply must see, says USA Tonight. At Video Exchange, you can feel the difference.
Driving this Loziers truck isn't my real job. It'll be one of Loziers' experienced servicemen driving it to your house when you call for the great new Loziers service in Greater Des Moines. It means no more paying emergency service costs when you dial 288-2111, the Loziers number for furnace repairs. 7 a.m. till 7 p.m., Monday through Saturday. Think of the savings. What a bonus for working people. All make service. Call Loziers for 7 to 7, 6 days a week furnace service at their regular low prices. Loziers, 288-2111.
There's always paperwork when you buy a house. This pretty much says that nobody's got a gun to your head, but you're entering this agreement freely. The next says the property is insured for the amount of the note, and you sign that in the lower left corner. Next is the house is free of termites. I hope you brought your checkbook. This is the fun part. I say that all the time, though most people don't think so.
Of all the athletic athletic events in the world, the last 6 miles of the Boston Marathon, including Heartbreak Hill, would have been the favorite sport of the Marquis de Sade.
Well put, Larry. We are 1 hour, 33 minutes, and 40 seconds into the race. As you can see, the wheelchair athletes making their way up Heartbreak Hill. It's been said before, and I can testify to it, that the race really begins at the top of the hill. Jeff Smith, followed by Steve Jones. Bruce Bickford in 5th position. I may have mistaken John Tracy for Bruce Bickford. Ed Eyestone is in 9th position.
Bob, I did not see Rob DiCostello among the lead group.
Well, the drama continues here at Boston. It's only going to get tighter. We'll be back for more of the Boston Marathon after this.
And welcome our next contestant from Cincinnati, Ohio, Mary Haney. Yes, you, Mary. This is your chance to enjoy a more colorful life by subscribing to TV Guide. Now let's show Mary what you'll get with TV Guide. To start, you'll receive complete listings for network, local, cable, and pay TV. You'll also get special features, movie reviews, a sports calendar, inside stories, and more. Okay, Mary, are you ready to go for it? Home audience, you too. Join Mary. Get TV Guide. Johnny?
Call toll-free 1-800-932-1200 to get 30 weeks of TV Guide in your mailbox. 1-800-932-1200. Pay in 3 easy installments of just $5.75. Send no money. You'll be billed later. Call now. 1-800-932-1200.
Congratulations, Mary. The subscription to TV Guide is yours.
21 miles have been crested here, the very top of Heartbreak Hill. Look at Seiko, turn around. He's got control of the race, he feels, but he wants to see where everybody is. He trained in southern part of Japan, in the island of Okinawa, doing his usual solitude of long runs. He's done it before, frequently going to New Zealand and the winters of Japan so that he could prepare for major marathons. And he knows now that he's got control of this race. There's the pack, Bobby.
There is a pack you see of 4 or 5 runners. Jeff Smith among them. Ariga Abraha from Ethiopia and Atlanta, Georgia. I would guess in the wheelchair division, it might be Jean-Francois Poitier of France. We have an official time, or at least as official as we can get at this point, on Andre Vigier, who finished in 1 hour, 55 minutes, and 43 seconds. So no world record for Andre this year, but his second straight Boston championship.
Bob and Larry, when we talk about Rob DiCostello, the defending champion from Australia, dropping back into the pack, I think one key element to point out, this is his 4th marathon in a year. That's really incredible, Paul.
Yeah, I think that's too many marathons in a year. Frank Shorter said that he wasn't ready to run again until he had forgotten the prior race. That's for the mental benefit, but there's a physiological toll that these races take as well. It really takes time to recover.
26 miles into the race. Look at the battle for 3rd place in the wheelchair division coming down Boylston Street.
You know, I picked Seiko to win and Tracy for 2nd, and I put DiCostello back in 4th place because I didn't feel he was ready for the very point they're racing. 4 marathons in a year leaves you tired.
As you watch the battle for 3rd place, your 2nd place finisher, number 4007, was Jim Martinson out of Washington. Martinson, who has been a runner-up twice at Boston, who builds these racing wheelchairs for some of the other runners. The battle for 3rd will apparently be won by number 4030, Thomas Ferrand, followed by Philippe Coupry of France. Tremendous finish.
Let's go back in the pack now. There you see Namamoto crossing the finish line, 3rd in that battle for the finish line. He was holding 3rd place for a long time and then faded. Well, gentlemen, if you could only hear us now, it is downhill from here. People sometimes say that to you when you've had a bad week. But
that's what they want you to believe. There is your leader, Toshihiko Seiko. You saw water flying from the side of the road as the passers-by here at Boston, the spectators, try to keep runners cool. I don't think it's a problem for this guy right now. We are 1 hour, 48 minutes, 52 seconds into the race. And just look at the concentration.
Not the Appian Way in Italy. You will not find it in a remote section of the Tyrolean Alps, or even some medieval village. Mercedes-Benz engineers would say they built it here in Sindelfingen, West Germany. A test of strength more brutal than any road, punishing the car for weeks on end because in their quest for durability, Mercedes-Benz engineers just don't know when to stop.
The 91st running of the Boston Marathon is being brought to you by Mercedes-Benz, automotive sponsor of the Boston Marathon. And by Bud Light, the light beer with the first name in taste. Everything else is just a light.
Back in Boston, crowds of thousands upon thousands of fans eagerly await the arrival of the winner. And this man right now appears to have the inside track for that title.
Listen to the roar for Seiko.
Bob and Larry, Seiko ran a 5:03 as he came from 24 into the 25th mile. That's a little bit of slowing from those 4:49s he's been running. He looks very strong to me, but it might be an indicator, perhaps, that Steve Jones still could make a final run at him. We're just going to have to keep watching.
It's going to take a tremendous effort from Steve Jones. He has moved from third into second, as Larry mentioned just a moment ago. But at 2 hours and 7 minutes, it is still Toshihiko Seiko in charge as we approach the turn onto Hereford Street, another turn onto Boylston, and the long straightaway stretch to the finish line of the Boston Marathon.
What we're talking about is they head down the straightaway. Last year, among the top 8 marathoners in the world, only 2 of them faced each other. And here we have the number 1, 2, and 4 in the world last year, plus the Olympic silver medalist, and plus Seiko, all coming in to face each other here in Boston. It's really a race that is rarely ever run these days with so many quality marathons to choose from.
Larry and Bob, you see Seiko when he kept turning around and looking behind him just to double check, and I think maybe what was happening with a tremendous battle going on for second and third and the applause of the crowd 8 and 10 deep along the road, maybe the applause started to confuse him a little bit.
Hey, Jimmy, I tell you what.
I think that's a good
$71,000, I'd turn around and check too.
If we could widen that shot out, we might be able to see when his pursuers turn the corner behind him. There, watch for the guys to come around the corner next. The important thing, I think, also on top of everything else in this race, is that in that big race that you talked about, Larry, with all the big stars there, so we didn't run the record. As you see, second and third and fourth place pull around the corner behind. Toshihiko Seiko will come out of this race and say, okay, guys, we all put it on the line. I showed that as the Olympic season truly opens, with a year or so to go, I know how to analyze a race. It's not always to the swiftest. It is often to the smartest and the strongest and the runner who makes the right move at the right time. And as things stand right now, Toshihiko Seiko has analyzed the 1987 Boston Marathon perfectly. He has executed his race plan, and it is paying off big time. Listen to the crowd as Toshihiko Seiko claims his crown.
We have 50 meters to go.
Minutes, 48 seconds unofficially, Toshihiko Seiko has won his second Boston Marathon. Now let's watch for the battle for second and third place. There it is, Steve Jones in the intramural battle between a Welshman and an Englishman. Steve Jones looking back.
Smith has conceded it.
See the cheeks puffing. Jeff Smith has given it everything he's got. As Toshihiko Seiko claims the prize, Steve Jones makes his way in.
Smith, a happy man, a good race. He takes third. Steve Jones takes second. A fine performance. It'll rank well worldwide. Jeff Smith is back, and I'm sure he feels good beating many world-class competitors.
A $20,000 effort by Steve Jones, a $5,000 sprint to the finish, because that's the difference between second and Jeff Smith in third. Here is Rosa-Mota, 2:12:58, approaching 2 hours, 13 minutes into the race. She continues to lead. She has yet to make the turn onto Hereford Street. There goes the 24-mile mark. We'll be back to watch Rosa-Mota finish after this.
It began as a new way of thinking about the relationship between the automobile and the road.
it evolved into an automotive suspension system like none before. The Mercedes-Benz Multi-Link Independent Rear Suspension System. 5 individual links per wheel precisely interacting to achieve handling stability as never before. Helping to make the 300 class the most technologically advanced automobiles in Mercedes-Benz history.
It was a quiet night until the party animal came to town.
There's a super party animal. Hey! His name is Spuds MacKenzie. A red hot nut and a cold Bud Light puts him in a party frenzy.
He's Spuds MacKenzie, Bud Light's original party animal.
Go Spuds! Go Spuds! Oh, yeah!
Spuds, Spuds. Don't be a stranger.
2 hours, 14 minutes, 30 seconds into the Boston Marathon. There is your women's leader, Rosa Mota. Toshihiko Seiko is already home with his garland in an unofficial time of 2 hours, 11 minutes, 48 seconds. Now the crowd's attention will turn to this woman, Rosa Mota from Portugal.
Portugal is taking this feat. They'll be seeing this show on a delayed basis, but she has less than 2 miles to go to try and claim her crown here. Her first time ever running the Boston Marathon. 99 pounds, has never looked more powerful on a starting line. 5 feet 1, that's what she weighs, and that's her strength. 1982, the first year she ever ran a marathon. She ran 2 hours, 36 minutes, a 6-minute mile pace. The first time she ever tackled a difficult course in hot weather conditions.
予定は終わりになりましたでしょうか。
こういうイランのが揃うですね。イランのが揃うといいペースか遅いペースかどちらかなんです。だから今回はもう風が強くてですね、誰も前行きませんでした。ですからペースが遅くなりましたけども。
Usually when he runs with all these top runners, so-called star runners, the top runners, it is very challenging. But because of the wind situation, he believes that the rest of the people are feeling the same way.
Once again, Chica, thank you very much, and congratulations on a brilliant race today and a wonderful victory in your third attempt here at the Boston Marathon, winning once again. Okay, let's go back upstairs for more race coverage as more races begin to come in. Well, we just had a tremendously emotional moment here in this Boston Marathon. It was certainly the hometown favorite, George Hirsch, coming in with a very strong kick. Bill Rogers, a 4-time winner. As you look at Rosa, who is, of course, out there so very, very strong, Rosa Mota. But we were talking about Bill Rogers, and there it is, the 4-time winner of the Boston Marathon. A very popular man here in Beantown. They were on their feet. They were leaning out of office buildings.
Well, it's pretty thrilling when Bill comes down the final few hundred yards here. He ran it in 2:18, and that's exceedingly good today. If you noticed ahead of him, 1 place up in 2:17 was John Tracy, who going into this race was certainly at least a co-favorite with Seiko.
Rosa Mota has her final kick and comes closer to Boylston and Exeter. We'll take a timeout and be right back.
How smart a shopper are you? Be honest. How do you know which TV to buy, which microwave, which refrigerator, when you're faced with all the different models and different prices?
I find this very confusing to shop. Very frustrating.
Confusing.
I know nothing about stereos that I'm supposed to buy today.
Cut through the confusion before you go shopping. Call this toll-free number for Consumer Reports 1987 Buying Guide issue. It's yours free with your paid subscription to Consumer Reports. The magazine smart consumers turn to, whether they're shopping for a new car or a new phone.
I wish I'd have had this before I bought one of my other phones, because I wouldn't have bought it.
Call to get 12 monthly issues, including our latest product reports and the year-end buying guide issue when published, plus the 1987 buying guide issue and the medicine show, free with your paid subscription, all for just $16.
It's one of the very few objective sources of information you can get.
Call 1-800-544-1000.
I'm home.
Hi, Mom.
Is your brother home yet?
He's upstairs. He says he feels yucky.
Bobby?
He ate a bunch of junk after school. The kid eats like a maniac. Oh, I feel yucky.
I've got just what you need.
Here it comes. The soothing relief of Pepto Bismol. The one that coats is the only one you need.
Feeling better?
What time's dinner? Maniac.
Hey, how you doing? Good. In fact, I feel like light. Hey. What the? Uh-oh. Oh, I am so... Oh, no. Yeah, well, I meant Bud Light.
If you want the less filling light beer with the first name and taste, ask for Bud Light, because everything else...
You all right? Sure, just a little lightheaded.
It's just the light.
Today, you need an insurance company that looks out for you year after year. A company with experience, measured in centuries instead of years. A company with a firm financial footing. You need the Hartford, the insurance people of ITT. When you need us most, we're at our best. That's the Hartford difference.
If you've joined us late, where have you been? It's been the premier marathon field of the 80s, an outstanding international field. 1, 2, 3 in the men's division. Seiko from Japan, Jones from Wales, and Smith from Great Britain. And right now, a Portuguese lady, 5 feet 1 inch and 99 pounds, power pack. George and Larry?
Yeah, she's in the last mile now, and I just think the whole Rosa Mota show has been exciting today. Look at her. She's beginning to throw in some real arm motion. I think Rose is pushing this pace. She wants to get as fast a time as she possibly can. There's nothing behind her that says she's got to run like this, but she's enjoying it.
George, when you get to this stretch of Boston, it's hard not to put everything into it. The crowds are just so enthusiastic cheering you on.
They do give you a great lift, Paul, as we all know, and they keep out there for the next couple of hours. That's what's so exciting about the Boston Marathon.
Jimmy, this young lady right now, she's turning on to Hereford Street. She has less than 700 yards to go. Began running at the age of 14. And at 21, there was some question whether she was washed up. She came under the guidance of Joseph Pedrosa, who's her companion and helps her train, and spent 5 months taking her away from competition, restructuring her training, and she's done exceedingly well since the age of 21, now 28 years young, and about to become the victor in Boston. She has won major marathons all over the world. We've mentioned the fact that she's the bronze medalist from 1984 at the Olympic Games, and her pace has been averaging for the last couple of miles 5 minutes and 36 seconds, as she has controlled this race since the 6-mile mark.
And there's a reason that it's important for Rosa Mota to do well, as George Hurst mentioned that she was throwing in a lot of arm motion. She is not the only fine female runner in Portugal. As we said earlier, this opens the Olympic season, does this Boston Marathon, and a lot of countries don't go with a system of selecting athletes based on their head-to-head performance, such as the U.S. Olympic trials.
Competition. One of the problems with the money that has entered marathoning is that it draws you to run too many races. Here comes some of these athletes finish tired.
Here is Rosa Mota. Our congratulations to her winning the Boston Marathon women's division.
There you see the special finish line set up particularly for the women. And at roughly 2 hours, 25 minutes, and 20 seconds, Rosa Mota has won the 87 Boston Marathon. And look at the smile.
While we have a second, not only a tip of the hat to Rosa Mota, we didn't get a chance to talk about Nike's Athletics West athlete Dave Gordon, who finished 4th today, running a conservative race in the beginning, and then Colombia's Domingo Tibidoueza, who at one time had all of the South American records from the mile to the marathon, who is coaching at the University of Nevada's collegiate system, takes 5th place. And it was Jeff
there
Smith
she is, about to be done with that laurel wreath. She'll wear that wreath to a press conference at a nearby hotel in just a little while. That's the same hotel where she'll be a bridesmaid on Tuesday for a wedding of marathoner Arturo Barrios and part-time marathoner, jogger, and nurse Joy Rochester. There she is, power-packed out of Portugal, 28 years of age, a bronze medal winner in the LA Olympics in '84, Rosa Mota. Very emotional emotional and proud moment. As we pointed out, George, it's her very first Boston Marathon.
She sure doesn't look like she went through an awful lot of toil either. I think she just looks absolutely fabulous. Look at her.
She's got a little spring in her step and breaks into a little victory jog. She's ready for a victory lap.
She really
is. And speaking of victories, there are two other victories to be commemorated here this afternoon. The men's and ladies' wheelchair division. Alan Massengale has both winners.
The wheelchair winners, Candace Cable-Brooks of California, Andre Vigier of Canada, two legends and wheelchair athletes. First of all, Andre Vigier, this is your third time. Congratulations. 3 times. And how was it out there today, the conditions? You were a little bit slower than normal.
Yes, because we got the headwind all the way. And also, sometimes the rain coming a little bit and it stopped. And for us, on the end rim, when the end rim is wet, it's slippery.
Candace, you talked about a scary start earlier when we talked to you.
That's right. Someone went down behind me and ran into me and knocked me out of my chair. And fortunately, I was able to pull my tire back on. It took about 7 or 8 minutes and get my composure and get back in the race.
Candace, you won it 5 times. Andre, you won it 3 times. How many more, when I ask each of you, do you need to win here? You've proven yourself over and over.
Well, I never have gotten a good time at Boston, so I'm going to win as many as I can to get a good time.
How about you, Andre? I did a good time last year, 1:43.25, but it's been impossible to do the same this year. But I will come back next year.
Okay, 2 of the world's greatest athletes, and certainly very fine showings today under adverse conditions, including almost a collision at the start. It was a collision, and some problems there. Let's go back upstairs for more race coverage right now. We'll be back to talk to the ladies' winner in just a moment. Well, they both get a little congratulatory kiss from our ladies champion, Rosa Mota, who makes her way down there, Alan Massengale. We've got lots more straight ahead. We'll all be back, so please stay with us.
I don't know. You can't drive at night anymore. Did you know that? Mom told me that. I mean, that's really nothing.
I know.
Maybe 5 years, 7 years from now, what happens then? He won't ask us. Even if he needs our help, he won't ask us. So we gotta do something. We're the ones, you know.
The Mercedes-Benz Driving Simulator, a laboratory that moves. Computerized hydraulics producing realistic driving forces. Computerized projectors creating a lifelike driving world. Allowing engineers to analyze the responses of ordinary drivers in extraordinary moments. Duplicating any driving situation in total safety. Mercedes-Benz continues to learn the secrets of automotive science. And the automotive world continues to learn from Mercedes-Benz.
Do something. Anything.
Street here in Boston, the 91st running of the Boston Marathon. And the finishers continue to the chants and cheers and applause of a standing room only crowd. Our ladies champion, Rosa Mota, is with Alan Massengale.
Rosa Mota looking very resplendent, and your laurel wreath and your roses, feeling very good. This has to be your finest moment in your career.
Yes, of course, because I win the marathon and it's a big race involved, and I am happy.
Let's talk about when you came in today. You knew that this was your race to win or lose. How did that affect your attitude coming in?
It's 26 miles to run. You can lose, you can win. I try to run as fast as I can, and I win. I am happy.
From a pride standpoint, you have to feel like you have established your name certainly in the limelight among the world's top lady runners.
Yes, I feel good.
You look good. What was your particular strategy out there? Any problems at all during the race, knowing that you were all alone out front?
No, I start slow and I feel good. I run a little bit faster. and after the 30K, I try to run fast.
Some of the runners mentioned the headwind. That was a big factor. Did that concern you, that you may slow you down, take too much out of you to begin with?
Yes, but I think I am small, and doing front wind kill me. I don't like front wind.
Okay. This is Rosa Moda at the finish line, feeling very good about her Boston Marathon victory. Let's go back upstairs for more race coverage, and we'll be back to talk some more in just a moment.
Still plenty of kick left at the finish line, and a big, broad smile for 28-year-old Rosa Moda out of Portugal. Again, the bronze medal winner in the 84 Olympics. 5'1" and 3/4 inches, 99 pounds as the finishers here at Boston. And this is a scene and an emotion that will continue George Hirsch for hours as you look at the official men's results. Seiko from Japan, Jones from Great Britain, Jeff Smith also from Great Britain.
First American was Dave Gordon, and there was a lot of bidding for who would be the first American. We heard the names Bickford and Eystone and Bill Rogers, but it was Dave Gordon, not one of the names we spent a lot of time talking about beforehand. Maybe we should have. I remember one early, warm morning in Honolulu when he came out and won the Honolulu Marathon before we really knew much about him. And I think he's emerged now as a major American.
He's an All-American at the University of Montana. This is his third Boston Marathon. And there are the ladies' results once again. We talked about the elite international field. Indeed. Lots more coming up from the 91st running of the Boston Marathon. It was rainy and raw when it started. Smiles and sun right now on those faces.
Wake up! Let's go. Ready? Yeah. Go.
Nike Air keeps your bones alive longer.
Be fruitful and multiply.
You know, apart from the fact that we love each other and we know we can live together, it makes sense from a financial point also.
Is that how you see it?
No, it's just that along with everything else, there's that as well.
I don't know. You make it sound like a merger or something.
All I meant is that we wouldn't need 2 cars, 2 apartments, 2 of everything. That's all I meant. Let's just forget that. The important thing is that we love each other and
competition is intense. 2 international volleyball powers show their strength when the USA battles Brazil in the Kentucky Fried Chicken Colonel's Classic, Tuesday night on ESPN.
The streets of Boston, particularly the sidewalks of Boylston Street in Boston, are crowded with the faithful, welcoming home the 6,000-plus runners in today's Boston Marathon. Recapping our winners, Toshihiko Seiko of Japan with an official time of 2 hours, 11 minutes, and 49 seconds, has evenly paced a race as we've seen in recent years. 1 hour, 5 minutes, and 49 seconds going out, 1 hour, 5 minutes even coming back. In the ladies' division, Rosa Moda of Portugal, her official time, 2 2 hours, 25 minutes, and 21 seconds. She grabbed the race early on and managed to hold the lead from there. Our women's wheelchair winner, Candace Cable-Brooks. Our men's winner, Andre Vigier of Canada, after that dramatic crash in the opening stages of the race that you heard Candy Cable-Brooks say took the tire right off of her wheelchair. Alan Massingale is standing by now. Let's go to him in the interview area.
Okay, we are with Agnes Bardens, who finished second out there, and you knew that there was going to be a chase all day long, trying to catch up with Rosa all day long. What was your attitude coming in, trying to prove that you could keep with her?
I don't understand. Speaking to...
Okay, with a number of countries and their federations to make this the trials. We believe that what we'll probably have next year are a number of sub-races. We will end up with the first 3 in each country being the qualifiers for the Olympics. So I think we'll find 10, 12 sub-races next year as part of that.
How about for you personally, when you hear the crowd behind us here and the applause still going on, what kind of emotion do you get?
It's not unlike cooking a great Christmas dinner. A lot of preparation, a lot of detail, and people are currently eating it.
Dave, congratulations. Terrific job all the way around. We look forward to being back with you in 1988. We have had the premier marathon field that we have been talking about, and it is, of course, a winner from Portugal. The young lady Rosa Mota taking the ladies, and Toshihiko Shiko from Japan.
It was the ultimate test of endurance, equivalent to more than a lap around the world in 8.5 days. This Mercedes-Benz traveled 31,000 miles, averaging over 154 miles per hour, stopping only seconds at a time for fuel and fresh drivers. Indeed, only seconds were needed, because during the entire trip, not a single mechanical failure occurred. High performance is exciting. High performance and reliability is Mercedes-Benz.
In these days of microcomponent technology, you can find office copiers that do almost anything. Some duplex, sort, automatically reduce and enlarge.
Can I use your copier?
It's down again. Try 23.
Thanks.
Some collate and margin shift.
Is your copier working? Sorry. Terrific.
But at Ricoh, we found that the most popular feature our copiers deliver is that our copiers deliver. Ricoh, copiers built to work and work and work.
Some of the sights that we have not seen very much of the Boston Marathon. Of course, there are going to be, Paul Thompson, a lot of sore and aching muscles when this day is done.
Yeah, Boston really takes it out of your thighs. Because it's an up and down course, you really do a lot of muscle damage. The runners don't feel so bad tonight, but tomorrow, it's really trouble.
Will come back next year at age 40. He already holds 30 age group records. A whole new vista is opening up for him. We'll be right back.
Hey, how are you? Sorry that I'm not at home. But when I get the message on my telephone, you'll be the first one on my list.
Crazy Calls, a tape of 7 different songs and funny recordings for answering machines.
I am very sorry that I'm not at home to take your call.
Only $14.95.
When I will get right back to you. Leave your message at the tone.
Give someone the gift of gab for their answering machine.
Pulling a friend. What you've actually done is bought a one-way ticket to the answering machine zone.
Nobody's home. Nobody's home. I'm glad you called, but I'm not home. But I'll be back before too long. You gotta
Crazy Calls, a tape of 7 different songs and funny recordings for only $14.95.
Wait for the beat. You gotta leave your name. You gotta leave your number.
To order?
Wait for the beat.
Call 1-800-544-1000. Call 1-800-544-1000.
I drove that car last weekend. The big Mercedes? The S-Class. What'd you think? I think you had to sit in that big leather seat, put Mozart, maybe Beethoven on the stereo, then go out and drive in tight rush hour traffic, up some back mountain road, all night in a rainstorm, and then you'll know what I think. Which is? I think just maybe I drove the perfect car, or as close to it as anybody's ever come.
This man is not a company president. He's not a vice president.
They're waiting for you.
While his face is well known to everyone from the security guard to the summer intern, His name doesn't appear on the company phone list. Yet he controls the productivity of this office, down to the last sheet of paper. And we think that's a serious problem. Because business should depend on a copier that works, not a repairman. Rico, copiers built to work and work and work.
Recalling the start of today's Boston Marathon, we'd have to say, Larry, that it was a race that got underway with a tremendous amount of drama and thankfully not a tragedy.
Well, what happened was, look down the course now, we are about 200 to 300 yards into the race. And as the camera pulls in, there are problems develop right in the middle of the roadway. People veer left and right to avoid someone who had a collision and fell out of their chair. Look at them on the ground. People are spilling all over the place because they're going probably 30 miles an hour. Look at the tumbling taking place. One crashes off to the right. 11 chairs went down in all. Some people were hurt. Candace Cable Brooks was able to get back in the race. We had a report that Jim Knopf, one of the co-favorites, also was I want to say bothered by the start, and we don't know whether he went down, but he was out of the race temporarily. There you see somebody that you know well.
That, once again, is Dick Hoyt, who for the past 7 Boston Marathons has chosen to wheel his son through the event. Tremendous father and son effort. A kind of a family affair that really makes the Boston Marathon a special event.
You see Cable Brooks with her 5th victory. Well, we have a second. In second place in the regular division, Steve Jones. His time was 2 hours, 12 minutes, 37 seconds. Jeff Smith was 2:12:42, taking third.
There is Andre Vigier, the jeweler from Canada. Look at the arms and shoulders on this athlete. Those are the legs of a great, great athlete.
Look fast, because the hands on this watch are about to disappear. Now, look again, and they're back. Why do these hands disappear? Because they're not really hands at all. They're actually electronic pulses of light. Introducing the amazing laser beam wristwatch. Destined to become a legend in its own time, we believe it will soon be one of the most sought-after watches in history. However, as part of a special publicity campaign, we will send you one of these amazing new laser beam luxury watches. Not for the hundreds of dollars you might expect, but for only $10. But to get your amazing laser beam wristwatch for only $10, you must act now. If you call within the next 30 minutes, you can order a second laser beam watch for only $5, just half price.
To order, call 1-800-352-5300. That's 1-800-352-5300.
Well, Joan Benoit said it was really a one-woman race, the ladies' division, and that was, of course, the favorite, the overwhelming favorite, Rosa Mota, 28 years of age, out of Portugal. And that George and Larry and Bob and Paul, that's exactly the way the race was run. She was never threatened. A nice, easy race for her first Boston Marathon victory and her very first Boston appearance.
I think it was a premier performance. 2 hours and 25 minutes and 20 seconds. When you're 99 pounds and you've got to run into a headwind, that says a heck of a lot.
Paul, what about body size? I mean, Rosa is only just barely over 5 feet, just under 100 pounds. How important would that be to being an excellent marathoner?
Well, it helps a lot to be very lean in running the marathon. You don't have to carry any excess weight. Think of your car being loaded down with excess weight. Makes it more difficult to get up the hills of Boston. In the car, it makes it more difficult when you're heavy in the running as well.
There you see the results in the women's classification of the marathon this year. Rosa Mota, Portugal, a great day for Belgium, with Agnes Pardins and Ria van Lanningham coming in second and third, Canada coming in fourth, and Odette Lapierre, and the Finnish runners fifth. There is Rosa Mota.
Lisa Weidenbach finished 10th. He was the winner in 1985, an American who lives here in Massachusetts, originally from Battle Creek, Michigan.
But this lady held the race, held the lead, and held the pace throughout the day. A very deserving women's champion, Rosa Mota. We'll be back to the marathon after this.
Don't wait for your secretary to drop you a subtle hint that it's Secretary's Week. She'll be thrilled you remembered her with a gift from your FTD florist, like this beautiful letterbox bouquet. Just call your FTD florist.
Billy Martin may be back in Yankee pinstripe.
The latest news.
Oklahoma and Nebraska are tied at 21 with a minute remaining.
Scores updated every 5 minutes.
Jack Nicklaus has just won the Masters.
The biggest stories, the fastest scores, just a phone call away all day, every day. ESPN Dial Sports. 1-900-976-1313. The numbers for scores, headlines, and ESPN program information. ESPN Dial Sports. 1-900-976-1313. Tuesday, America's best hopes for Olympic gold lead the world's best divers in breathtaking platform competition. The McDonald's American Cup, Tuesday night at 8 Eastern on ESPN.
They're still coming in, and they're still smiling. They're kicking strong, and this will go on for another hour or so. George, and you made a good point a few seconds ago. We were talking about some of the people obviously coming in now are some of the nameless, faceless people that started well behind the elite field, the international field, the seeded field that was way up in front, the ones that will wear the laurel wreaths and get all the ink in the press. But really, everybody who competes here is a winner.
Well, and these people are winners in many ways, and they're darn good athletes. They're running 6-minute and 45-second pace, and these are people who work full-time. They're not professional athletes. They're accountants, they're lawyers, they're doctors and nurses. And look at them. This really is something extraordinary. They fit that mileage in early in the morning, late at night, maybe on a lunch break. I really take my hat off to them.
And they're adored by this crowd. You can hear the crowd still applauding and cheering very loudly in the background. And look at the spirit. It just continues. Almost 7,000 runners when this race began 26 miles ago, almost 3 hours ago. And Paul, on the screen a few seconds ago, we saw a couple people that were holding on to their calves and their thigh muscles and charley horses. And there will be some dangers for some of the novices, some that have maybe not trained quite right. What dangers are inherent now?
The key issue right now is that it's very cold here in Boston. And in order to stay warm after running, you've been sweating, and now you're going to cool off quite quickly. They'll start to shiver. And starting that shivering, they can pull muscle. They can damage muscle tissue that's already been used very vigorously during the race. So they've really got to watch out. They've got to get to a warm place pretty soon. There'll be a lot of activity down there in that medical tent because these people are going to be dehydrated, and some of them are going to be in quite a bit of trouble.
Well, we talked about our elite international field. Let's question both of our experts now. Larry Rawson will be joining us in just a second, and George Hirsch, the publisher of Runner's World magazine, what the elite international field is doing to the United States in the marathon program here. What has to happen to get the Americans back to where we were with, say, a Frank Shorter?
Well, I think from the Shorter Rogers days, things have changed a lot, and we're going to have athletes that are going to go back and train like Toshihiko Seiko, and that means living a little bit like a monk. You can't get on the road and run a road race for $5,000 or $6,000 every weekend, do all the promotion that's attendant to it, and expect that you're going to be able to perform along with a Seiko. It just can't happen.
Did the running program get a little bit off stride in that you can prepare either for a marathon or for the Olympics, but it's very difficult to prepare for both?
Yes, I think that's true. And then again, you do get even an American who makes the choices, and that was Joan Benoit. She's not going to go out there and run every weekend, no matter what the money is. She sets her sights on certain races. She's the world's best.
Well, we talked about the international field. We have talked about the men's racing. The two prominent Americans, of course, were Bruce Bickford and Ed Eyestone. But what about the ladies program, George? We've not really had a very strong ladies marathoner since Joni Benoit, and she'll be back after the baby, after that right leg heals a little bit. But you just don't know, like Alberto Salazar, if they can come back completely from such an injury.
Well, I would think that Joni can come back, and there's some interesting experiences here. Ingrid Christensen, after she had her baby, or even Evelyn Ashford, the sprinter, after she had her baby, came back and set world records. They were stronger than they ever did. So I think Joni's got that in her mind.
Bob Barsha and Larry Rawson down at the finish line, which is where they began the day, and you can see the runners still coming down. So for Bob Barsha, Larry Rawson, George Hirsch, and Paul Thompson, I'm Jim Kelly. So long from the 91st running of the Boston Marathon. The 91st running of the Boston Marathon has been brought to you by Ricoh Corporation, proud sponsor of the Boston Marathon. By Nike. And by John Hancock, sponsor of the 1987 Boston Marathon.
The test of a great airline is not just how fast it moves you in the air, but how fast it moves you on the ground. That's why at some of the busiest airports in the world, United Airlines offers you the most advanced baggage systems, faster ticketing and boarding procedures, and the most spacious, convenient, efficient terminals in the business. United Airlines. From the ground up, rededicated to giving you the service you deserve. Come fly the friendly skies.
This is ESPN, the Total Sports Network.